You live your life. Everything seems clear, ordinary. Daily tasks, meetings, work, home, endless routines. But then suddenly, without any obvious reason, something inside you cracks, breaks through. You might even look down at your own hands and catch yourself thinking, who's looking right now? Why am I here? Why am I living this life? Did I choose all of this? Is it really mine? It may sound like madness, yet more and more people are experiencing it. There's even a term for it now, gaining popularity much like burnout once did, derealization. It's a state once described in Tibetan tradition as the first crack in your dream. The moment when the soul stops believing in what is happening. When you stop believing in the reality of your own experience. You can no longer pretend, no longer agree that everything around you is real. Back in the 1990s, neuropsychologist Michael Persinger conducted a series of experiments using what became known as the God helmet. By applying magnetic stimulation to the temporal lobe, he triggered a strange effect. Almost every participant described the same experience. The world around them suddenly felt unreal, as if reality itself was hidden behind a thin veil. And long before that, the Gnostics spoke of the same thing. They called it remembering yourself beyond the dream, beyond the game. In the Nag Hammadi texts, it was even described as the scent before birth. A beautiful metaphor, a fragrance you recall but cannot name. As if something ancient within you whispers, you have been here before. Stop. Think. One of Persinger's subjects, a former programmer, said after a session, I suddenly realized that reality isn't a flow. It's more like an interface. I see the icons, but I have no idea what's behind them. You may not have thought of it this way, but deep down you felt it. Like when you're sitting in some meeting, important or not, people are talking about money, work, projects. And suddenly, a thought rises inside, what am I doing here? Who decided all this? Why am I even part of it? This isn't mysticism. It's a glitch in our architecture of perception. Most people believe that when they make choices, they're exercising free will. They think, I weighed the options, I know the consequences, I could have chosen otherwise, therefore, I'm free. But that misses the deeper question. How did you become the kind of person who makes this particular choice, in this exact moment? You start to notice that everything feels too structured, too neat, almost scripted, as if the world itself was designed. Even philosophers noticed it. Neo in the Matrix went through this, but long before him. Jean-Paul Sartre wrote, I looked at a tree and realized, it simply is. But it does not exist. I don't even know why it exists at all. And neuroscientist David Eagleman explained it this way. You don't see the tree. There is no tree. What you see is a model constructed by your brain. And even that comes with an 80-millisecond delay. Which means you're always living in your brain's predicted past. The CIA once conducted studies, recently declassified, which state directly, consciousness can move beyond linear time and enter the original pattern. And the very first stage of this is what we call derealization. Think about it. You are nothing more than the sum of everything that brought you here. The universe has pushed you toward this exact point in time. And all you really have is your brain. Its state depends on your genes, and on every external factor that has shaped you throughout your life. You are a whole system, influenced, molded, carried to this moment. Even the next words you are about to say are part of that process. Now ask yourself, when did I actually join this game? Not where I was born, not who I became, but who pressed the start button. Who chose my entry? Chances are, you don't remember the very beginning of your life. One day you just found yourself here, inside a body. You had memories, a story, a name, parents. There was a beginning. But where did it truly emerge? It feels as though someone had already launched the scenario, and you simply appeared inside it. And what if this isn't just another glitch or hallucination? What if it's actually the opposite? A system error breaking through? What if the thing we call life is merely a shell, a simulation, and beyond it lies something real? The deeper question is not what this is called, but whose construction it is. Culture itself is like an operating system, you interact with it every second. And everything that enters your mind through it can transform you in the most radical way. The truth is, no one really knows how deeply one single new idea can change you. So who is the architect of this world? Who built it? Who wrote the rules of the game we play? Samuel Beckett, in his play Endgame, captured it almost like a diagnosis: there is nothing left. Only the game remains. But I go on, because I do not know the way out. Whenever we hear the phrase, "This world was created by someone," we immediately imagine God, a source of love, a divine creator. But if you look closely at ancient texts, from the Old Testament to Babylonian and Sumerian myths, another face appears. Not a radiant being of love, but something more like a jealous overseer, a punishing master. In the Old Testament it is written, "I am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sins of their fathers unto the fourth generation." That doesn't sound like love. It sounds like control. Like enforcement. Even the Lord's Prayer, "Our Father," reads very differently in Greek compared to its original Aramaic form. Which means, someone rewrote it, altered it, shaped it into a program of obedience. Are we all connected? My answer is yes. We are immersed in the Earth's magnetic field. Humanity is 7 billion conducting brains, all sharing this same field. Imagine 7 billion receivers and transmitters, all within the same magnetic network. Within it, there is enough energy to preserve the memory and experience of every human who has ever lived. And when you begin to truly look around, you see that the world is built on these very same laws. To live, you must first survive. To exist, you must fit into something. To love, you must earn it. Even in the Sumerian myths, humanity was not created for freedom, but for labor. Made of clay and the blood of a slain god, designed to carry the burden of work on behalf of the gods. You are not a child of light. You are a tool, a resource, a worker, a contractor, a servant. And the Gnostics went even further. They declared outright, this world was not created by the Absolute, by the true Creator, but by the Demiurge, the architect. And that makes all the difference. The Demiurge does not know love. He only imitated the light, understanding what he was copying. He even proclaimed, "I am God, and there is no other." But that was his mistake. He didn't know what he was doing, nor where he came from. He built form, but not breath. Structure, but not meaning. A beautiful shell without life. His code might even seem flawless, like in the Matrix. And yes, you are given a choice, but only from a list of pre-selected options. You can pick a scenario, and he says, you are free. Yet the boundaries of that freedom were already set. It would all sound like myth, if not for modern psychology confirming a similar truth. The brain reacts far more strongly not to pain itself, but to the expectation of pain. You don't even need to suffer. It's enough to fear that suffering might come. And that alone is enough to keep you in line. You are not trapped in a cage of walls, but in a cage of fear. And that's enough. Carl Jung once wrote, "The God of the Old Testament is not evil. He is a shadow, a separated fragment of the whole, who rules precisely because he doesn't know why. Even Kabbalah admits, this world is a failed creation, born of catastrophe. We are all broken vessels, shattered fragments, longing for unity, struggling to survive in this realm. But in this system, the living must devour the living. Light competes with light. Beauty suppresses beauty. And this struggle is considered normal. The eternal battle of good and evil, the duality, the endless dichotomy. This is not creation born of love. It is a mechanism of pain. And it is embedded deep within us. Even our amygdala, the brain's fear center, reacts to the negative 5 times faster than to the positive. 5 times. As if the brain was not designed for happiness, but only for survival. And it's not that you are broken. It's that the system itself was never designed for freedom or joy, but for control. When researchers mapped ancient number tables to letters, they discovered something fascinating. Human DNA, our genome, is structured in layers. And on the very first layer, like the prologue to a book, lies an introduction. It exists in every carbon-based life form. And it always reads the same, eternal God within the body. Eternal God. And here lies the paradox. You suffer, and you seek comfort and salvation from the very same force that wrote this code. Hello. Alcohol industry, tobacco industry, entertainment industry. And even when you turn to meditation, to spiritual practices, to religion, in search of light, you only receive a new icon on your desktop. And the system tells you, yes, of course, you want an exit. Here it is. Here are your options. It gives you yet another version of salvation, another version of faith, another label to wear. But every path of salvation remains part of the same system. And so often you think, this is the start of a new life. You move. You change partners. You switch jobs. You begin something new. But after a year, maybe 2, you find yourself back in the same place. The same self, only in different clothes, in different scenery. So why this system? Why control instead of love? Why algorithms and scenarios instead of life? And how can you even tell the voice of the source apart from the program that only pretends to care? Because the moment you believe in this program, you once again agree to live by its rules. And once again, you are not the author, only the spectator, the actor, repeating a script you've already seen before, and one you never truly liked. You suffer from it. You feel the emptiness inside, the fatigue, the anxiety, just like millions of others. And you begin searching for a way out. You change jobs, you move, you read, you study, you watch videos like this one, you sign up for therapy, you practice meditation, you enter spiritual schools. You hope that this time life will finally begin anew. And yes, at first, it feels different. In the first week or month, the world even seems brighter. Inspiration rises from within. Hope returns. But after some time, 6 months, a year, 2 or 3, you find yourself right back at the same place. Different scenery, same cycle. Just new packaging. It's as if you never escaped the system, but only downloaded a new icon, installed a new interface to play with. The effect of novelty fades quickly. The code itself never changed. And you remain the same, with the same fears, the same patterns, the same despair, the same hunger to escape the void. Even the Sufis used to say, a man may change his path, but he still carries the wanderer upon his back. You think you've stepped out of the system, and it simply labels you with a new sticker, awakened. And the truth is, even death doesn't free you. In the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it says, after death you will see a bright light. If you are afraid, you will return. If you cling, you will return. Only if you recognize it all as illusion will you be free. But how can you recognize illusion, when all your life you were told the light itself is salvation? The Gnostics even went so far as to forbid going into the light. They wrote, "You will see the light." It will say, "I am your father," or, "I am your mother." If you believe it, you will become flesh again. They warned that the archons not only created this world, but even simulated the afterlife, so that you would return not because you wanted to, but because you chose to believe. It sounds like myth, like strange esoterica, yet modern research echoes it. In 2001, a cardiologist published a study in The Lancet on patients who had near-death experiences. And 80%, 4 out of 5, described the exact same sequence, leaving the body, a tunnel, a light, a judgment, and return. Later, researchers in Strasbourg tested DMT, the very substance the brain releases at death. 90% of participants described the tunnel, the radiant being, the love, the merging into it. One of them even said, "I met God." But later realized, it was just a program wanting me to believe it was God. And so you think you're transitioning into another realm, another reality. But in truth, you're simply moving to the next level, within the same interface. Even knowing all of this does not grant freedom. On the contrary, the more you know, the more deeply you are caught in the system. Because now you stop seeking, you stop questioning. You already have the answers, the categories, the labels, the names. Lao Tzu once wrote, "He who knows, does not speak. He who speaks, does not know." And your mind, it is neither enemy nor ally. It is part of the system itself. Part of its security architecture. A mechanism designed to ensure you never escape. Carlos Castaneda even called the mind foreign. He explained, the mind classifies, explains, describes, analyzes, but it never truly lives. And as long as you seek an exit through the mind, you remain inside the script. Because the mind seeks, only because it imagines itself imprisoned. But the truth is, the mind itself is the prison. The walls are not around you. The walls are made of thought. And the real break in the system begins only when you stop trying to escape with the mind. When you stop running, stop avoiding, stop seeking a rescuer. When you remain alone with yourself. And in that silence, for the first time, there appears not an answer, not even understanding, but a feeling. A presence. I am. We often think, I am trapped. Everything is against me. The world is cruel. The system is stronger. But it isn't so. It's more like a dream with open eyes. You're not living it, you're servicing a script. You think about life, you comment on it, explain it to yourself, always explaining something, but rarely living the moment. You don't choose, you endure. You don't create, you agree. You don't live, you perform a role someone placed you in, and you call it yourself. Reality, your reality, is not created by events themselves, but by the state in which you perceive them. What you don't live through will return again. What you cannot release will come back to you. What you fear most will eventually happen, because you programmed it yourself. Even your rejection of everything is still part of the realization. And the system, it is not the enemy. It functions like a mirror. And I'll explain why. It has no opinion, no goal. It simply reflects you, your state. And the nature of a reflection is that it never changes first. The Sufi tradition says wisely, the world is neither good nor bad. It simply repeats you, until you change. And there is one main law, the law of free will. By experience it feels like the highest law, and nothing can override it. Not the creator, not the architect, not even you. The probability that we live in a simulation is estimated at over 93%. And every simulation is created for one reason, so that those inside it can learn to adapt perfectly to the place where they will go once the simulation ends. A simulation is a safe space where mistakes can be made, where you learn to use your power. And if we really do live on Earth inside such a simulation, and all our oldest traditions tell us we are moving somewhere beyond it, then this isn't the end. It's illusion. Temporary. Which means, the script is always yours. You sign the agreement yourself. You tick the box yourself. And you do it the same way you install yet another program, without reading the terms, just clicking I agree. You choose to suffer. You choose to stay silent. You choose not to act. Out of fear. Out of the desire to stay comfortable. Out of the wish to avoid truth and friction. And each day, you approve your script. You confirm it. You consent to it. You consent by inaction, by patience, by suppressing your feelings and explaining it away. Well, what else can I do? At least it won't get worse. And here lies the paradox. You are not only the prisoner of this system. You are also the guard. You are the one enforcing your own captivity. And it all unfolds by your own will. I'll share one story. Perhaps one of the hardest cases I've seen. A man, around 40. A family. Children. Education. A profession. Responsibility. And for the last 30 years, he has not lived his own life. He doesn't know what he wants. He can't find it. Instead, he goes where he's supposed to go, starting with his studies. He does what he does not love. He speaks words he doesn't feel. He doesn't even allow himself to get angry, because it would be wrong or inconvenient. He makes himself correct and comfortable for everyone, except for himself. And he can no longer understand what he wants. He lost that thread long ago, because he forbade himself to want, because he kept suppressing his own desires. For 30 years he grew used to betraying himself with these small daily choices, until it became normal. But when you betray yourself systematically, day after day, the body receives a contradictory command. This is wrong, but I'll do it anyway. This is unbearable, but I choose it. And the body begins to act. It launches the program of self-destruction. In his case, the immune system began to attack his nervous system. His body said to him, if you refuse to move in the direction you truly want, then why move at all? And paralysis spread slowly through his body. His space of possibilities shrank to the unthinkable. He even told me, I just want to be able to climb into the bathtub by myself. Just that. Without anyone's help. And that broke me open, because this is no longer about achievement. Others dream of wealth, of millions, of success. And he dreams of simply moving, on his own, just a little. This is where self-denial leads. The world shrinks, first to the size of a room, then to the body, then to pain in a single organ or joint, and finally to silence. Yes, it's often said. When you walk the wrong path for too long, first your heart cries out, then your liver, then your legs, and then your soul. But most of the time, you no longer hear it. As long as you live from the mind, explaining everything, you are always late. The mind thinks in the past. It reacts, it explains, it chases reality, but it never lives in the present. And so, you don't really live. You only step along footprints you've already left behind. And when life ends, it isn't because your time has come, but because you have not lived for too long. So who, then, writes the code of your reality. Life whispers it to you from all directions. There is no universal reality. There is only your own. And its code is written by you, with every choice, every act of will, every surrender. With every, fine, whatever, with every, not a big deal, with every, later. Each time you endure what you dislike, another line of the script is added. Your agreement is signed again and again. And every time you choose safety over the feeling of truth and life, you tighten the loop. It is not that you die. It's more like you fall asleep, deeper and deeper. Your freedom of movement, your freedom of expression becomes paralyzed. So how do you hack this reality? By reading another book. By trying another practice, another magical course. No. It begins with one very simple question. Am I alive right now? Am I truly living this moment? Or am I only managing, thinking, following, explaining? And if you can honestly answer, no, I'm not here, I'm not living, then the system already has a crack. And through that crack, for the first time, the real you can enter. But who are you, really? Let us suppose there is an exit. Imagine a door. A real one, an absolute one. You can open it and step beyond the system, outside the game, outside all forms, outside even your own body. And what is there? First, there you will experience silence, stillness, emptiness, an absolute vacuum, no time, no thoughts, no I. Even the I begins to dissolve. And you simply are. Pure presence. It is a profound experience, but how long will it last you? Sooner or later, the impulse will arise, to move somewhere, to create something, to manifest in some way. Because just floating in the void, endlessly, becomes rather dull. You'll want to try again. And if you haven't changed inside, you'll create the same thing again, the same loop, the same pain, the same rules, the same fears, just under a new name. And if what you create is even worse, something unbearable, you may lose the very desire to exist at all. That is how life works even here, because even beyond this reality, you cannot escape yourself. I once had a client in a deep crisis. He broke through, truly. He said, I don't want to stay here anymore. That's it. I'm leaving. And with his consciousness he went very far. Beyond anything words could capture, beyond everything we think of as part of this system. And there he encountered beings made of light. Radiant, powerful, luminous. They asked him, why have you come? He answered, I don't want to go back. Back there is pain, struggle, endless problems to solve. There is no meaning. I don't understand why it exists at all. I want to stay here, with you. Here it is bright, warm, peaceful. And they told him, but how can you stay with us? You have not walked your path. Look, you are unfinished. You are not whole. You are not yet ready to be here. So he had to return, to face and complete his lessons. Another client went even further. He could carry so much energy that he reached the very source itself. It's impossible to describe, 1,000,000 times stronger than any vision, any experience imaginable. And he asked, why am I? Why do I exist? What is my purpose? What is the meaning of my life? What must I do? And the answer came. The answer is simple. What do you want? Whatever you truly, deeply want, it will be created. Go, create, and bring it forth. He came back quickly, describing the return as overwhelming, the speed, the force, almost unbearable. And once again, he was here, with himself, with his lessons, to live them, to walk through them, to complete them. And here lies the great paradox. This is not a prison built for us. It is a sandbox. A beautiful one, with sunsets, with resources, with endless tools. With bodies capable of love, of feeling, of listening to music, of joy. Yet we take these tools and use them to hit ourselves and others over the head, literally, emotionally. We argue, suffer, hide, close down, and all the while whisper inside, I want to go home. But it's not about some home out there where everything will be good. It's about this: until you become yourself, until you become whole, no exit will ever feel real. Imagine the world as a screen, filled with icons. Each icon is not just an image. Look closer, it is code. But even the code is not the real thing. Because code is only a description of energy. A pattern of flow. Energy wrapped into the form of zeros and ones. Light and shadow. Intention and response. And our world, strange as it may seem, is also energy. Everything else is just an interface, created for one purpose only, so that you may learn to direct this energy, by experiencing the consequences of your choices, or your lack of them. Not to defeat anyone. Not to be saved. Not to escape. But to remember that you have will, and to live it. Perhaps that's why Alexander Pushkin once wrote, "There is no happiness in this world, but there is peace and will." It is not about running away. Not about salvation. Not about breaking out. It is about finally pausing, feeling, remembering that you are not a victim, not a program, not a role. You are will itself. A will that can create. And that is why you came here. What do you think? What do you feel?